Welcome, everyone, to another great week here at the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. I am your host, Matthew Long, joined by my co-host, Kevin Crest. I am coming to you live from Mobile, Alabama. Little bit of a change in scenery, but out here for the Senior Bowl. It's been a wonderful event to cover. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time here, though they've only had one practice. It is a first-class event, and it's something that we're definitely going to have to put on our slate each year. So, and I'll get into it a little later in the show. Here shortly, we have guest this week joining us, Mr. David Goren. He's the executive director for the National Sports Media Association. So he will be joining us here in the first hour. In the second hour, we have Super Bowl teams. We're down to 2, and then there were 2. Kevin and I will break down and talk a little bit about what you can expect out of the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which is in Miami. It's just I really love it when all this fun stuff is within driving distance. There's nothing else I can add. Nothing else really to add. I just like if I can just drive to it. I'd prefer doing that. So, the national championship game next year, back in Florida. For next couple years, we'll have Super Bowls and national championship games and everything like that, all down in this neck of the woods. The Pro Bowl is over here in Orlando now too, so it's a happening place. So let me welcome in my co-host. He's the author of the P.K. Frazier novel series, which you can get on Amazon. Just type in P.K. Frazier. There's 3 of them. Buy all 3 of them. He is also the editor for our golf section and one of our top contributors for college football. So Kevin, when are you guys moving down here to Florida? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Man. Are you a flea market kind of person? Do you like flea markets or farmers markets rather? What about not farmers markets? Okay. Flea markets, no. Farmer market. Okay. Yeah, so in Fort Lauderdale, there is a farmer's market. It's called the Yellow Green Farmer's Market. They don't pay me, but I endorse it. It's awesome. Great food. Should be a stop. Even if it's just for a couple hours on the afternoon, you can just go in there and get some awesome food or drinks or beverages. There's a Venezuelan place there that makes these arepas, these giant arepas. Well, and empanadas too. Just giant empanadas and arepas. You have to try them. They're amazing. So, The yellow green. Oh. The damn beach. It always gets them. It always gets them. Florida's sand trap. All by myself. Speaking of Virginia, I might. I found out not too long ago that the deadline for any credentials for the Super Bowl is November 13th. I don't know what to say. That's a long ways out. I guess it's because of the demand. By a lot. The bus left like weeks before I showed up for it. They're like, yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. I thought it was December. Yeah. Yeah, I was so far off. But then the divisional rounds was here in January. I think it was the 28th or something. Or no, wait, no, I'm wrong. It was the 12th. The 12th. So you have till the 12th of January to determine the divisional round, which was last weekend. So you only need like a week or two notice. But for the Super Bowl, which is even less teams, and the odds of your team being in the team that you cover. So is it just like everybody preemptively by mid-November, everybody that would cover a team in general has to apply? I don't know. I feel like they should rethink that policy. It seems like the demand would be way higher if that's what they send out as the rule. Because in mid-November, you have no idea who's going to be in the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's a certainty. Yeah, at this point, it's like you have to email. Like it's a direct email to the NFL media credentialing department for the Super Bowl. Like it's that specific. And at this point, they probably have that turned off to where it's, they have their away notice. If you're asking for credentials now, bruh, that's probably what it is. It's just as a reply message, brah. That's it. You're not even fully addressing it. It's like, come on now. Come on now. But December 1st. Wow, you're only a couple weeks after the actual NFL. Well, you do it big, right? You're catering and oh my. Have you pre-ordered the food? I mean, it's a lot of people. Did they all RSVP? Yeah, that's a must. Yeah. You don't think the 49ers have some pretty decent weapons? I mean, they have basically three options in the backfield. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah. And it's really no wonder. I mean, again, I was on board with the 49ers up front when they hired John Lynch. I was rooting for him, and in that corner, I kind of saw what the tea leaves were intended to kind of show. I didn't think it would be this fast. I don't think anybody did, but the way that the ownership, and specifically with the ownership, the way they set this up, hiring their general manager, hiring their coaches, giving them longer deals. I think it started them off with like 6 or 7 year contracts just off the jump, letting them know, hey, we're here. You have our support. We are going to let you build this, and we're going to make sure that we can allow time for this to kind of organically come together. And boy, did it do that fast. Hopefully, again, this is a situation that they're going to able to keep them together for a longer period of time. Because again, the thing is with Harbaugh, he was a coach that kind of butted heads at times with the front office and a bit of a power struggle there, and had an opportunity in Michigan as well. So I think Kyle Shanahan has been great there, and I think because he's a younger coach, and I think that's kind of their thought process, where bring him in early, give him a longer deal, let it come together naturally, and we can hold them on for longer. So I think they were looking at retention in the beginning. So they were looking at the exit when they built it. So with a strong foundation. So it'll be fun, but we'll get more to that later in the show. So, and now up, we are. Do you have that there? Yeah, give me that. Thanks. We will be joined by our guest, our first hour guest here shortly. Actually, we have him on the line on the call queue. If you want to go ahead and introduce him, Kevin. Fritzy. Did you get to be a Danette for a day? Is that when you had to cut film and then tape it? I kid. I kid. Nah. That's always the worst. Yeah, our guest David Goren. Um, what would you say was your draw to sports media? I mean, everybody kind of seems to have a little bit different reason why they do anything. But what was your draw to sports media? Yeah. With, with and then they gave you great hours, right? Because that always happens. Um, one last question I have for you, and this is a question I borrow from Gary Keller. I'm here in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl, and it's one of the questions I ask all the kids. Um, but I'm gonna kind of redirect it in a way as advice. What would you say if you're talking with a young person that has a passion for broadcasting? What is the one thing you feel that they could do that it either made life easier or better for them overall? Well, the mhm. Beautiful. I backed you. I backed you. Tulsa. uh, it's been wonderful. vetting. Amen. It's amazing, and that's the thing is like a lot of people, you know, when anytime I ever tell anybody about our broadcast or our publication or any of the stuff we do with sports, I always hear, oh yeah, I want to get stuff set up to do a podcast. I just don't know. My advice is, and I think that he kind of hit on it, is usually just do it. Just do it. If it sucks, who cares? Just do it. As long as you enjoy it. As long as you enjoy it and you're not scaring people, that's what's important. The passion about it. People literally, if you have a cell phone, and he was kind of hitting on it a little bit this day and age. This industry is very fragmented in some respects. Just looking at some of the outlets like Blog Talk, like when we started back in 2012, there was the number of people that were on that platform alone was significantly diminished. So is that bad? Maybe Maybe it makes it harder for them to hear us or find us, but it creates an opportunity for people. So I say if you're passionate about it, go do that. Do it. Do it as long as you can, because I know that's a big thing here. I think I thought for a second when he was talking about his hockey career, I thought he was going to say he was so bad, and then he started playing golf and he won some golf tournaments, got in a fight with Bob Barker. I thought that's where it was going for a second, and then it didn't. So I was like, is he Happy Gilmore? So that would have been, we've had on Jerry Maguire and Happy Gilmore. But I saw him this weekend. Or yesterday, actually. Yeah. He's here. He is. Yeah, he is. I thought he'd have all the quarterbacks. I don't know who he's representing yet. I haven't got. It's probably, I don't know, Herbert maybe. I don't know. I haven't talked to Herbert yet. Yeah. I think Tua signed with him. Yeah. Would you believe that there are people here that at the Senior Bowl that are, NFL people that don't see Tua as a first round pick? Yeah, they don't see him as a first round. No? I'm sure. I don't think he makes it to 20. He will. Well, here's the thing. Here's the scouting report on Tua isn't it's not does he have ability or talent. The scouting report on Tua is he takes a lot of unnecessary hits. He holds on to the ball too long, and he doesn't hit his checkdowns. His he's not hitting his checkdowns enough. It seems like it's like he's a home run hitter. He's a slugger in baseball. It's hard to ask those guys that hit home runs to say, hey, we need a single. That's what we need. We need a single right now so we can get a rally going. We need to, go ahead and lay down a bunt so we can advance base runners. It's tough to ask those guys to do those things, but unfortunately, that's part of his job. He holds onto the ball way too long. So there's a couple other minor stuff other than that. But by the way, there's nobody here that is scouting staff that I've talked to. Nobody thinks he's injury prone. I know a lot of media keep bringing that up. And I don't think he's injury prone. He has been unfortunate with the injuries. Like his ankle injury has had nothing to do with the hip injury, so it's not that those things are related with one another. Where it's injury prone is saying like, okay, he had a hamstring injury that ended up being a calf injury, that ended up being a lower back injury. That would be injury prone because it's a chronic situation of injury with stemming circumstances, meaning they're from they can relate it to a correlated cause. They can say, hey, it's the hamstring that originally started and made it a calf, made it the lower back. But if somebody rolls up on your ankle and then somebody, you get high and then hit low and they take out your knee, that really has nothing to do with each other at all, other than you were in two crappy circumstances at two different times and you got injured in both of them. So, again, yeah, they do. Yeah, that's I wouldn't go as far as dirty. I can't. It didn't look good. It was unnecessary. I mean, he was already going down. But so my understanding is the whole idea was, to give him a little cleanup shot as he was going down. But the intention wasn't to hit him in the head. That's my understanding. Is it right? No. Is it dirty? I wouldn't say it's dirty. It's within that gray area. Similar like the hit we saw in the national championship game where you're hit in the back. There's a tackle or hit to the back. Receiver really It's within the parameters of where it's catchable, but they're not going to catch it. And the defensive back still lays the boom, and the receiver ends up hurt. Are they defenseless at that point? Yes. Was it to the head or neck or shoulders area, or using their head to spear them? No. So was it in that gray area? Yes. Could you call it dirty? Some might. People were understandably upset about it, but it wasn't a penalty. So sometimes those things go the other way. I know with UCF, they had a blindside hit in a couple years ago when they played against LSU, and LSU won that game and still have to this day have not lost a game since then. So yeah. And they have a committee for that, and they'll fine him some insane amount of money. And 30 years ago, this was on videotape, VHS. It was on, Betamax then. Maybe, was that Betamax? It still wasn't even Betamax. It was, it was on your reel, that film reel that those little ones with the 5-inch, was it 5-inch film reels they used? Is that right? The 5-inch on projector. Yeah. Yeah, not today. And so they actually now kind of a good segue though. Right now, what they do, like here at the Senior Bowl, they do psych testing on the athletes, all of them, all 100 and it was 110 guys or whatever, 200 guys that are here, all these guys plus these guys. If you can see the camera, there's a lot of guys. Two full teams worth of guys are here this weekend. They're all going through psych evaluations. They went through them on Monday. They're going through them today. When I was over there, it seemed that they were about, halfway through. They still have tonight to do a bunch of them. But it is not the Wonderlic test that they do at the Combine or that the NFL has them do. And the Wonderlic's a personality test, kind of personality IQ test, more so on the IQ side. What they do here is and every team kind of has a little bit different testing and stuff that they use. But what they do is they have, I think it's like 3 different stations that they go through, and they are basically doing different kinds of personality tests on these players to see if and how their personality matches with that team. So it goes beyond just, are they going to work at the NFL level, but are they going to work with that team's culture? So again, this is one thing that the Senior Bowl does, that I'm not aware that the East West Shrine Bowl did, or anything else outside of either actual teams that meet with them and have them do this, and or what they do for the NFL at the Combine. So it again, when I said that this event is at another level, it's a top end event, I truly mean it. Like today we had a weigh-in. Like they literally, every athlete was measured height and then weight, and we got all their breakdowns on hand size, arm length, and wingspan, on all players. It's funny how, like, almost, I'd say 90% of those involved in this event shrunk. They shrunk coming here. I don't know what it is, their mode of travel, but like 90% of them shrunk. There was a couple that stayed the same size, and then there was a small handful that actually grew. They instead of being 5'11", were 5'11" and 2/10. So it's kind of funny how that works. One guy was he shrunk like 2.5 inches. It's a lot of shrinkage. It must be cold in there. It is cold. That's what it is. It was cold. He didn't participate. He didn't participate in this game. See, that's the thing, is all players in this game are required to participate. So I could go down here like Utah State, Jordan Love. He was listed at 6. I wrote over it. Hold on a second. I'll tell you what it is. He was listed coming into this weekend at 6'4". He officially measured at 6'3.5". And there's some that were like 6'7", they were 6'6". The ones that are like kind of sad to see, like James Porsche from SMU, he's a wide receiver. He was listed as 6 foot, and today they broke the news that he is 5'10.5". So he that 6. That was some uncomfortable news. I don't know. He should have stretched before he went up, I think. That does work. If you're laying, if he would have, while he was waiting to go up, if he was laying down and was doing stretches, he probably could have got about 1/4 of an inch there. Been closer to, and again, I'm being, because you're tallest when you wake up, first thing when you wake up in the morning, until gravity pushes you down, or old age. I don't know about the old age yet, but some people can vouch for that. But I hear you shrink in old age. Well, you didn't have to throw yourself under the bus there, but I appreciate volunteering there. Yeah. So, but this is really a remarkable event. So I hope next year that you come here with me, and it's great. So last night it was around 8:00 or so, and I was trying to get my credentials, and I could not get them. And I was talking with one of the people that worked here, because I was trying to finagle getting my credential and not have to wait till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning to get it, because I didn't know if it was going to be open all day or what it was. It wasn't really posted those times that I saw. But right after I was told no, I was talking, and a gentleman came up behind me, and he tried to get his credentials, and they told him no too. That guy was Dan Marino. So when Dan Marino, they said, sorry, you got to wait till tomorrow morning. I immediately no longer felt bad at all about not getting my credentials. So, and having to wait till the morning. So it was interesting who you can just run into here. So there's all kinds of Charlie Casserly here. If you, it's so cold today, but if you've never seen Charlie Casserly in a beanie hat, today was the day to see that. It happened. So. Yes. Yeah. But the Millers. That's a good one. Go with the Millers. That would be my vote. Because we were talking a little bit earlier in the show because you were referencing Virginia Beach. One of the top receiver talents here played in a school in Virginia. He played for Liberty. And again, normally one of the top talents at a position, especially at the Senior Bowl, usually isn't from a small school like Liberty. And yeah. They did. And he got a raise before that, and a contact extension and raise. So but Antonio Gandy Golden, wide receiver from Liberty, he was actually recruited and brought in by Turner Gill, the previous coach at Liberty. But really an amazing kid. And the kid is he doesn't look like a receiver. Like you probably would look at him like, hey, I think he might be a defensive end or a linebacker. He's 6'4", 220. The guy has a tremendous catch radius. He played pretty big in practice as well. So for most guys, I mean, he's bigger than half of the tight ends here, and he's speed and it's a good interview too. So I'll share more of that in my recap next week of the Senior Bowl. We still got a few days left here. What I can tell you though, we were seeing Justin Herbert throw today. He does have a cannon. He has an arm. He can sling it. And so what I haven't been able to see, because it's harder to emulate it in a practice environment. Where he's struggled is when he's under duress. That's where he's made the bad decisions and decided to go ahead and throw it when there's nothing there, or trying to force something into a window that and him not making it into the window. He does a good job of getting it up. Like if he's not under pressure, he can with good accuracy downfield drop in that back shoulder throw. But it's when he's under duress, it ends up a little short or off the mark, too long, and that's where kind of what scouts are looking for. Again, it's hard to kind of simulate that in a practice environment. So a lot of them are going to go back to tape on that. But I know the quarterback coaches and the quarterback guys are just aching to get a hold of him because they think that's something they can easily fix. So, yeah, it did. I think, yeah, because a lot of time, the question coming out of the Pac-12 is, okay, so you can move it all over the field and stuff. Can you move it all over the field at a consistent basis? And are you in enough duressful situations or playing against enough high-level competition to where we can accurately grade you? And that's one of the things, like what I was talking about, the psych testing that they do is they do some of this for exactly that reason. So if you're an Alabama player, and half of your schedule is against, local high schools and community colleges, which they seem to do, and everybody, that's in that conference seems to be okay with it. But then you play against SEC teams and you do well. What they want to do is see how do you play up to the highest level of competition? Because again, even if you play against the best teams in the SEC, you're not playing against all NFL talent, because not all Alabama players or all SEC players make it to the NFL level. There's only, a select few. So the best of that class is going to make it up to that next level. And with more and more underclassmen coming out, which this year was a little bit of a dip in that, and there was also a little bit of dip on people sitting out bowl games this year, you get a lot more people coming in. Now, I will say from what I learned from the NFL, they for this event and for even the combine, they're considering seniors first before they consider underclassmen. And this is why it's so important that these guys really understand their draft value when they're coming out. Because if you're coming out as an underclassman and you're projected in the middle rounds and it's a big class and you don't make it to the combine, then your chances of making a roster significantly drop. Not even just getting drafted, but making a roster, because less time is spent. Because, I don't know if it sounds crazy or not, but the NFL season is still technically not done all the way. The playoffs, they have one more game still, and it's almost February. So these coaches and these staff, for most of them, or at least half of them, for the last month or so, they've been wound up in games. And for two staff, they are still wound up in them. So you can't really watch tape on guys you want to draft and think about who you want to draft when you're putting time and energy and focus into winning games and preparing your team for games that are still coming on your schedule. So 30 teams are right now in the position to where they can invest full time in that for the most part. So and the thing is, with these events, like with the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, a lot of guys that come here are coming here and getting involved in coaching in the Shrine game or the Shrine Bowl example, or coming here may not be with a team right now. So what people don't realize is these two events, as well as the combine, are places where coaches come to interview for jobs for NFL teams, not just players, but these are coaching events too. These are opportunities for guys to get jobs on teams and get opportunities in the league. So, and the Senior Bowl is a bit interesting. I don't think many of, if any, of the players that are involved, and maybe even some of the staff, but I realize that the environment that's set up, because the staff for both teams and all the players are staying in the same hotel, and they cross mingle a lot. There's a lot of, and the media is just free to grab whoever you want in the hallway if you know who the player is, when you don't see their number or their name, or you can only see the back of their head. Like if you can identify the player from the back of their head, with no name or number, sometimes you can grab those guys, but anyways, there's opportunity here. Plus there's other retired coaches. You have media personnel. Like when I got here on Monday night, I was talking with Brian Harper, Roman Harper's brother. So for probably a good couple hours, down in the bar area, talking about the draft and stuff like that. So it's like it's all kinds of people that come to these events. It's not just agents, it's not just coaches and media, but a lot of people that are within the sports world come here to these events because it is an opportunity. Like today, there was a there was a guy from Mexico that was trying to build a business, a statistics business, a sports statistics business, so he could sell his product, his sports stats, for players in Mexico. Because there's 30 colleges in Mexico that play American football. And the CFL scout that I talked to, regional scout, by the way, he said that, they every year they have an international or an outside of North America slot on their roster that they add in. Mexico has been one of those countries where they've had more lately. They actually had a CFL Mexican draft. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. I mean, I've seen Charlie Casserly in a beanie hat. I want to see what that looks like now, a CFL Mexican football, American football draft. So, but he was trying to pitch him on using him to provide the stats and analytics for the CFL for players in Mexico. I'm not going to get into his business model or approach or whatever, critiquing it, but I'm just saying it's just to kind of highlight on some of the people that come to these events to find opportunities or to network and meet people. So it's a cool, like, so tomorrow or Thursday morning, for example, Thursday morning they have a summit. So there's a couple head coaches. I could tell you who it is. Hold on here. Anyways, the keynote speaker is Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V. Big sports fan. If you are on social media and you're between the ages of 19 and 37, 38, I guarantee you pretty much know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. You know who Gary V is. You have seen the hashtag Ask Gary V. You've heard of VaynerMedia, or you've heard of Wine Library. But he's sort of a big deal. Many leather-bound books. He has a library that smells of rich mahogany, and I think he gives tremendous advice. He's a self-built. I didn't say. You get caught up in the self-built thing. Everybody has help in some way. Everybody has different avenues and opportunities that open up for them. And usually people have to open up opportunities for you. So he's done tremendously well starting out as an immigrant child working in his parents' liquor store to being able to convince his dad, his family, that he could take their business online. He could do Google ads, going on Twitter, going on YouTube, and becoming probably one of the bigger influences in this generation, this millennial, Gen X, millennial, whatever comes after millennial, generation influence out right now. But he's a keynote speaker, so something that, again, that's a huge plus, a huge draw for an event like this. So it's something you wouldn't say, hey, I want to go to the Senior Bowl so I can go to a summit, a Gary Vaynerchuk summit, there where he's a keynote speaker. You think is more of coaches and you probably think you'd see Dave Goren there before you see Gary V. I don't know. Maybe Dan Patrick's there and before him. But it's a cool event. Yeah, that's a lot of things I see here. It's Mobile / Pensacola. A lot of things. Yeah, they do. Uh, Yeah. And that's the thing is, it's a lot of people say, take away the passing from the Chiefs and you beat them. That's how you get rid of it. Yeah, that's how you take care of them. But that's the thing is, Mahomes gets rid of the ball so quickly. He's mobile. You can't just sit in a coverage. You can't really repeat stuff with him. So as a defensive coordinator, you have to continually change things up. He sees your tendencies. And that's the thing is, if your pass rush doesn't get there, then he can shred you. He'll have time to throw downfield because they have so much speed, somebody's going to get open. And that's the thing is, if your pass rush is getting there and isn't consistently getting there together, and it's like one guy, like you see, go back and look at YouTube of him basically like just a little sidestep to J.J. Watt and kind of looked back at him as he did it, it's like, it was crazy. He's freakishly athletic and intelligent. He feels pressure coming, so he's good at doing everything you want quarterbacks to do. But he's really instinctual, and his athletic ability is next level too. I know Lamar Jackson. I hear Monday Night Football wants to back up the Brinks truck and make him the most highest paid broadcaster in history. Yeah. Third. Yeah. Well, he's played for 3 seasons. He's been a starter for 2. It still counts. It's still his rookie. It's not like baseball, he can, he can be a rookie of the year his second year. They should look at that. Maybe they should look at that. Yeah, it's funny today, or actually yesterday, in the presser, the introductory presser, Javon Kinlaw, South Carolina defensive lineman, they asked him, how it is that he's so good and how does he win how does he win on each play? And he said sometimes you just look at guys and they tell you what they're going to do with their eyes. So, I mean, there's something to that. What Mahomes does is something completely different. It's not that he's just looking him off. He stares him down and directs them. They take it because if that's the thing is, notice anytime you've ever been somewhere and you've made eye contact with a person, their brain registers that, oh, now you got to think of decorum. Do I wave? Do I nod my head? Do I look away quick? Do I pretend like it didn't happen? You know, on the football field, it's not going to change. There's for a split second, because you got the quarterback's eyes and they got your eyes. So there's that delay. And now, not only is there a delay, but they're guiding you in a direction. So at that point, you have a lot of decisions to make. He sees me. Is he going the other way? And now it's a guessing game. You know, you have to know what's going on. This is why a lot of defensive back coaches say, if you know the route, run the route. Become the receiver. Don't worry about what the receiver's doing. If you know the route, run the route. And what he does is he manipulates them in a way. It's more than just looking off in a direction to try to get them to guess in that way. It's more than just that. He pulls them, you know, with his eyes, with his attention, because he literally makes the eye contact with them. You know, they got that hesitation, and now they're thinking, oh man, you know, it's like the gazelle that, oh, I see the lion. I see the lion, man, that a lion is right there. Oh boy. What do I do? And then they got to make a decision. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, he threw the ball where nobody else could get it. That's, you know, that's what he was great at. He would throw it with timing exactly where his receiver should go. He was a master with anticipation. He would throw the ball. That's the thing, is like you can even watch sometimes where, you know, Harrison was on a route and he wanted to guide him back towards a certain way, and he would put the ball up to where he wanted him to go, and you'd see him like where he was closer to the numbers, and then start veering out towards the sideline to make sure he's away from the defender, or he'd get it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like if you break it down, because sometimes what you can do is if you're looking at the teams, if you look at it like you're making a 3-on-3 roster, like who's their best 3 on defense versus that best 3 on offense, and if you have when you do that best 3 and you have somebody on the bench, a lot of times that's what's going to win. You just have more depth and talent, more depth and ability, and more weapons to work. And that's the thing is with, I hear a lot of people, liken the Chiefs to the Warriors. They're that run and gun, that shoot the high shooting percentage team. They pass the ball well. They run the ball, but it's because they pass so well, the running game opens up so much more. And because there's so much speed and so much athleticism on that team, a little 5-yard slant could be a touchdown because there's a little wiggle in the middle of the field and they're gone. You had Hill the other night, like literally catch the ball, lose 9 yards, run across reverse field, and then gain 3. Like, it was a 3-yard. He ran like 60-some yards to gain 3 yards. But that's the thing. Is like, you're not going to get that typical. All right, they're going to get it towards the boundary and they're out next play. But then they're up there ready for the next play after that. They still huddle at times. They switch it up, but what Andy Reid does is he builds that offense and builds whatever system he's using around the quarterback he has instead of trying to mold that quarterback to his system. Because at the end of the day, he's your talent. He's your asset. You want to build around that. So that's what they do. You get guys that are fast and twitchy and athletic and are able to make things happen after the catch, and that's what you get there. Their offensive line is decent. They have decent running backs, but at the same time, their threat is downfield. Their threat is whenever he distributes the ball. And sometimes he distributes it to himself, and that's dangerous too. So, if your defense, if your pass rush is not getting there in multiples, then it's going to be hard to slow him down or push him off the mark. And the thing is, it's Daniel Jeremiah said this. Thing is about Pat Mahomes is it's so exceptional, I think, in a lot of ways, is his poise. And a lot of time they say, poise in the pocket. And it's more than that. It's his poise in duress moments, in times of where, like, again, we use the playoff being down big, but there's at no point in time did you see him panic, did he seem worried, did it seem to bother him at all. And everybody saw that, they understood that, they absorbed that, and they pushed forward, and they came back. In a blink of an eye, literally, you got up to get, 6 more wings and 2 celery sticks, and you came back, and oh wow, they're there. So it literally says at no point in time, despite what the scores tells you, are the Chiefs ever out of the game. But that's such an interesting thing about this matchup in the Super Bowl. Because, and again, what Kyle Shanahan said is, listen, we went run heavy because it was working. If it's working, why would we stop doing it? If you can't stop it, why would we change it? You can't stop it. So we just keep doing it, Did Garoppolo only threw, 9-10 passes? You know, Terry Bradshaw talked about one of the Super Bowls. He threw 11 passes and they won the Super Bowl. And he's again, that's one of the ones he's credited for him winning. Threw 11 passes. Probably was more the defense and the run game, but it's still, nonetheless, that's not the thing. The fact is that there is something that the other team can't grasp, and you just exploit it. That's what the 49ers did. In a lot of respects, that's what we saw Tennessee do. Except Tennessee didn't have the benefit of the talented quarterback. Again, Ryan Tannehill, serviceable guy. Clearly, he can find a way to get into playoffs, but he's not the guy that a team would look to pull them out of situations and lead them to wins. Aaron Rodgers is that clearly one of those guys. Pat Mahomes, one of those guys. And that's the thing is, most of the time your quarterback shouldn't be the one that is making you win. And that's kind of the problem with the Green Bay Packers. It seems like they rely too much on Aaron Rodgers to make them win and not enough time on them winning and then him showing up in big situations. Because it seems like if he doesn't show up big in every game, they don't win. So it'll be a really interesting game. Yeah, and he was trying. It was they got up to 20 with a minute 60. Yeah. He will. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and that's the thing is, the Packers' issue wasn't even running. I think to begin the game, it was kind of their strength because they start off the game. They start out first play 9-yard run. Pass. Then they got a 4-yard run. So you have 13 yards on 2 carries. That's pretty good, right? 2-yard pass, punt. You get the ball back. 1-yard pass, 13-yard pass, 3-yard run. Okay? So was that 16 yards on 3 carries now? Still pretty good. Then there was a run for no gain. They took a sack, punt. So you see now at this point they punt and they're down. The Niners have scored a touchdown and they're down. They're punting it back. The Niners got the ball right back and they scored a field goal. So the Niners are up 10-0 at this point. The Packers get it back. 6-yard run. 2-yard pass for negative yardage. Then they take a 10-yard sack, and then they punt again. So now again, it was a fumble too. They fumbled, and it was a sack fumble, and they recovered it. It was a 10-yard sack though, and then they punted it. So then the Niners got it back. 6 plays, they scored again. Now it's 17-0. Now it's to the point you're down 17-0 at the 3:33 mark, and we're still in the first half. I'll tell you in just a second. Rushing 285. Yeah. So again, the Packers, their strength this year was relying more on running. So it wasn't all that different from what the kind of the strength and what was working with Green Bay or with San Francisco. It's just that Green Bay kept making mistakes. They were taking sacks, and they were pressing it they were relying on Aaron Rodgers to do something big when they could have focused more on the run. They didn't run enough. They didn't focus on running the ball, possessing the ball, and just moving the sticks. They needed Rodgers to make big plays. And that's the thing is, because they lean back on that, and that's the thing is, when you're what? Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. You're 3 possessions in. You've had 3 possessions, and you're down 17-0. Then you're in a situation where you're passing more. So the Green Bay ended with 62 yards on the game running. And what was it? What was their passing numbers? And they passed for 296. But the thing is they were punting and fumbling and interceptions and punting. Finally, in the third quarter, they get a touchdown. It's 27-7 at this point. Did San Francisco slow down? No, they came down the next possession, made it 34-7. Green Bay got another one. So then they missed the 2-point conversion. And that was Aaron Rodgers. He threw it behind him. Is that something that Adams usually catches? Maybe he does contort his body and catch it, but Adam, was it? Yeah, it was Devontae Adams. Yeah, it was missed. So, yeah. Yeah. They didn't. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't turn it over, and they scored on every possession. Let's see. The first one they punted. See, they punted like 1, 2. They punted twice the whole game. They punted the first possession, and then their first possession of the fourth quarter. That was a 3 and out. But that was the only 2 times they punted. So if you're getting down, and you're getting a field goal or a touchdown out of every possession, that's just the thing. The Packers had the ball longer. They had more passing yards. Statistically, if you look at it, it looked like the Packers. It's like, wow. The average play was 6.2 yards. But the thing is, you have a fumble, you have 2 interceptions, 3 turnovers is crazy. I mean, those are literally, and you still, if you give up 3 times, the thing is, the Packers had more possessions than the 49ers. I mean, it's easy math when you have 3 turnovers and you lose by 3 scores and you're still punting more. Clearly, you see that it's just that the efficiency in scoring was on the side of the 49ers. And that offensive line just opens up some massive holes, like I was like, maybe I could, no, I couldn't. I wouldn't think that, but it was just like the holes were so big, and it was just a chasm to run through. And that's the thing is when he ran in for that when Mostert ran in for that 36-yard touchdown, their first touchdown, he ran 36 yards untouched. That's a third of the football field. He ran a third of the football field untouched. Go ahead. I felt a shot at me coming in. I don't want you to miss the opportunity. Yeah, they're up there. Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. I think no, it isn't, because really, and the great thing is, like, right now with that Kansas City defense, Honey Badger is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense, because what they're doing with him, they're letting him roam. They're just letting him do his thing, and it's great and it's working. However, they're not getting enough of a pass rush to really capitalize out of what he's been able to do back there. That front seven needs to do more. That front seven is going to be really something to really look at. And that's the thing, is this is what makes it so much harder in the NFL. So in college, what we saw teams try to do against LSU is put in this 3-1-7 concept, or this stacked 3-3, where you have you have extra safeties or extra defensive backs or extra corners in the game. So a 3-1-7. So you're heavy on your defensive backs because you're going to throw it all over the yard, and it gives up these different looks, and you're moving it around. You're moving disguise and stuff. Moving your mic out, and it changing and moving stuff around because it's messing up the blocking scheme. That can confuse teams quite a bit. It could be really effective at any level, but in the pros, you have 53 guys. That's all you can have on your active roster. And you know what? Some of those guys are hurt, and they're not IR material, So they're hurt, so you're just down people. So you have less people to go to. Just the well is more shallow in the NFL. Higher level of talent, better guys, but you can't put in these different personnel packages necessarily in the NFL just because you don't have that to pull from. So well, the Packers were year before last, they had no running backs, and that's where Ty Montgomery ended up becoming a running back, and they kind of ran with that. I guess it was 3 years ago, but you get the gist of it. Which he can play running back, and he did, but he was a wide receiver for them, and they didn't really have the intentions or packages built for him at running back, though, or they didn't have many. That's the thing, is if a guy's talented and he shows up and he shows that he's a football player, they'll start designing little things here and there for that person. Try to get him in more packages, because if you can do something with the ball in your hands, they'll try to figure out how they can get the ball in your hands. That's just the simple thing of it. I notice with my kids, they'll get gifts for birthday or whatever, and the thing is it's not enough just to get the gift. But it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be, at a food court or something and have an aunt gives them a present. Now they want to rip the whole package open, take it out, and play with it on the spot. It's like, this isn't the place you want to do that. This is, the food court at the mall is not the place that you want to get into playing with a Barbie house. It's big, it's awkward, it's assembly required, and maybe even batteries. I don't know. You don't want to get involved in that sort of a situation with these toys in this place. Just wait till we get home. No, kids don't want to do that. NFL coaches and their staffs are the same way. They got a toy, they want to play with it. They want to use it. How can I use it? Where can I figure out, I'm taking the package off. We're going to start playing with it. That's how they are. And that's how Ty Montgomery worked for them. And Tyreek Hill has been kind of that toy for in a lot of respects for Kansas City, and they're going to have this really big question coming up with who they keep, who they're going to extend, how much they're going to pay them, because when Patrick Mahomes comes up, obviously they're going to lose opportunity because they're going to have to make him the highest paid. They're just going to have to make him the highest paid, quarterback in the league. Because I don't see, again, me and Lee Steinbrenner are not, me and Lee Steinberg are not tight like that. But I don't know, Kevin, you tell me if I'm wrong. He doesn't seem like the guy, show me the money, that says, yeah, we'll take the hometown discount, or I don't know. Well, no, it doesn't seem that way. I don't think you take a guy and throw the dice on him out of Texas Tech, and interview after interview after interview, and talked him into, like, he LeVar Balled Patrick Mahomes into the first round. I mean, not that he wasn't the talent, didn't deserve to be there, but the interviews he put him in, he did. And again, I don't mean that in any disrespect to Lee, but he literally, yeah. He made him almost a thing of myth. It was like Thor, or I don't know, Achilles or something, Yeah. Wonderful job. Yeah. Yeah, he's not. Yeah. Pretty sure he does a podcast. Can I, can I do a plug real quick? I think there's one guy that's really flying under the radar. That's an NFL guy that nobody's really talking about in this class. I mean, we kind of, not, I'm not gonna say he's Patrick Mahomes in that respect, but Jake Luton, the quarterback out of Oregon. I think this guy is exceptional. And I think he is an NFL quarterback. He's not here this weekend. He wasn't at the the senior the East West Shrine game. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see him, although I haven't confirmed it. We'll see him in Indy. But he's one of the, I've talked to a couple scouts and stuff about him too, and people seem to like him. But he seems to, for whatever reason, is just really flying under the radar. And this year, if you, like I did, watched Oregon State football, you saw this guy slinging it all over the field and making big throws. And that's the thing, is like in big time passes, he was up there among the top of college football. If you look at the PFF numbers, the Pro Football Focus, numbers, the statistics on passes completed, like big time passes, he's up there among them. So it's I wanna that was my quick random scouting plug there. Anyways, we can move on. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so was Tua. Well, Tua had to, but yeah, even with the loss to Auburn, I think they would have definitely been in. You know, you'd like to think so because of the way that they just because a lot even here this weekend a lot of people relate and you echoed this to all season that Utah defense reminded a lot of people of an SEC style defense. So maybe and they they obliterated them. You know, it wasn't close. And I almost thought, like, even with the two losses, maybe their two losses were less significant in some way than Oklahoma's, but Oklahoma was on such a tear early. And that's the thing is, maybe if Oregon had, that's the thing is, you lose a game out the gate, it stymies a lot of momentum. And on top of that, a lot of people feel like they didn't play as strong of a schedule. Again, I think it's tough to really a lot of times with conferences like the Pac-12 and like the Big 12. Again, their defenses are always highly discredited, but I think there's a lot more parity within those divisions, and the quarterback play is at such a high level, and they have really good. The offensive style is much different. It's designed to get yards and points, so it's harder to defend. So what they're putting out in offense is harder to defend. So I think in a lot of respects, it's tougher to really put a gauge on them because they play more conference games and they just seem to cannibalize themselves. Oklahoma and Oregon have been kind of that exception to the rule. They've been able to get through close enough to be mentioned about the playoff picture. Oklahoma's been in it a couple times. Oregon's only been in it once. But it's making sure that they can maintain the consistency throughout the season. But I think even more than just their consistency, I'd like to see ACC and SEC 9 conference games. Have a cap on the number of FCS schools or that you can schedule and say you have to do it at the beginning of the season, not at the end. Make sure you have to do it in the first 5 to 6 weeks. I do. No, I don't think that rule's there anymore. I don't think they have that rule anymore. I think they have 2. You can have 2. Alabama seems to have 2 every year. Yeah, maybe. I don't have it in front of me. You're like, who just became FBS? Who just came in? Oh, we'll give them a shot. What do we have to pay them to take a loss? Yes. Nope, I just took it away. I just took it away. Listen, it needs to be a home and home. They are. Well, actually, they had a decent year this year. I'm pretty sure they had like 7 wins this year, didn't they? And last year, too. What do you think? What do you think was the most upsetting to Alabama fans? I haven't asked. There's been some things said around here this weekend in Alabama about Alabama. I'm kind of like, go on. I'm gonna let you go wander out here. Hopefully, there's not Bama on Bama violence. But what was more hurtful, that they finished outside the top 10 in the final ranking, or that they finished behind Florida? The Gators finished 10th. Yeah, still. I didn't do those type of statistics. It's like I was just looking on my. I was actually talking with somebody about our real estate here. So it's like 200,000 people, around 200,000 people in Mobile. Did you know it was the home of Mardi Gras? It's the first Mardi Gras was in Mobile. Yes. It's a fact. New Orleans just did it bigger and better, I guess. Yeah. I'm sure it will. You should try. Maybe you'll like it. Well, I'm just saying this is where it started. It was. What you should say is, hey, I'm going to the home of Mardi Gras, and then she'll be like, oh, when are you going to be here? You say, no, I'm going to Mobile, because Mobile is where Mardi Gras was started. And then see where it goes. I know, right? I blame the military. The government and the military. They just got too big of a presence here. They couldn't have it. I have no idea if that's relevant to it or not. I just know there's a giant ship when you come in. It's really cool. I still haven't taken a tour of it. I've been here several times. It's still, yeah, that's see, this is why conspiracy theories are interesting. Because there's a shred of fact and a bunch of other maybes, you know? That's how conspiracy theories work, you know? Some fact. There must be some truth. Yeah, I thought for a second that Clemson may have to just retool everywhere because it seemed like a lot of guys were leaving. But as the weeks go on, there's a few more guys staying. And I think Clemson's going to be a bit better off than I think a lot of people had worried. They rebounded this year from losing their whole defensive line, I think, fairly well. So the guys that they have there, most of them are going to return. They're losing Phillip at their linebacking spot, but I think if you look at Stingley, the cornerback, is like that guy's ready to be the highest drafted corner in history, it seems like, with the freshman season he had. All world this year. It seems like that's LSU, but it seems like rather Clemson is sitting a little bit better than what we thought. I'm just mixing up the two. Phillips actually plays for LSU. It's been a long week. Like I didn't get to bed till I drove in on Monday, so I left at 11:30 and got here 10 minutes before the presser was going to start. And then up late last night talking with people, and anyways, it's been a long couple days. None whatsoever. I think both of those teams that you just brought up are a lot better than anybody gives them credit for. And by the way, Matt Patricia is genuinely entertaining to watch at practice. I'm going to leave it there. Well, if they drop down a level, they'd have to drop down to the XFL. By the way, since you brought it up, they did have their preseason games. I did. You like that? That's called a segue, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I should be winning the National Sports Media Association Person of the Year for segues. You liked that, didn't you? It comes out of nowhere. I'm telling you, no, it's my segues. I'm telling you, I'm lethal with segues. Sometimes they blow up in my face, but most of the time it's like, oh wow, you found out a way to bring up something that I didn't think we were going to talk about tonight. But no, I did do that. I did it. But yeah, they had their first preseason games. So every XFL team has now played one game. And so much to where they have power rankings. I don't know how you can issue a power ranking after the first time either of these teams ever seen a competition. I guess you can technically, but I wouldn't because of the, historically limited amount of sample size. But it looks like at the top they have the DC Defenders. Do you want me to keep going? Yes, that is true. Right after the Super Bowl. Are you teasing me? I feel like you're teasing me now. I feel like right now, my wife does this to me every now and then. She asks me, hey, would you like me to walk downstairs and get you water? That's what I feel like. I'm kind of going in that way. I'll get it if you want it. But it's not really out of the way kind of thing. But the other shoe is me like half asleep. Oh, by the way, can you go get me some water? Yeah, I'm kind of asleep here. You're up, Can you hand me the remote? It's on your nightstand. It's right literally within arm's length to you. So yeah. What I'm saying is we should have did a draft preview. I talk Mac. Yeah. Or I could gush more about the Senior Bowl. I could gush more about scouting and throw mechanics and stuff like that. Things that, people drool over. You will. I mean, don't lie. The UFL was entertaining. The AAF was more entertaining. It's just that they didn't have money, Listen, you watched more games than I did. Oh, you did too. Fibber. The Vipers, yes. And they just traded Alonzo Moore, ex-Husker, to the Seattle Dragons. tier. Yeah. I did just drop that, right? They do it in a back alley. Hey, I got this guy, he does a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe you could use him. I don't know. And you give me this. I don't know. That's how they do it. They're just like that. I mean, we're talking about these are all NFL guys. Like, yeah. Hey, John, talk to Johnny about that. I got a guy, huh? You get the job done. Technically, yes, that is. Hey, we have a guy. He hasn't actually played in any of our games because none of us have actually played games. But I will trade him for one of your guys who has also not played in any games because no one has played games to this point. Well, yeah, sounds good to me. It's like, I mean, he shows up to practice. He wears the shirts that we leave in the locker room. I guess he's on our team. What about that what about the fat guy over there? He shows up to every game. I think he's a fan, but we'll trade him too. I heard a little bird told me he's a good guy. He's one of our guys. You know? I know. Coming to work. We trade him. They traded the equipment manager for a cornerback. Everybody comes in like, where's all our stuff? Why isn't it out? Oh, that was the equipment manager. Wrong guy. I thought he was a kicker. I think somebody's been moonlighting. Somebody's been moonlighting. Yeah, I heard it was some gambling. You were pretty succinct with what you knew there about the XFL. I think you've been paying a lot more attention than you want to lead on to. That must be the old site. I mean, only 8 teams. Well, you thought it was like, hey, we were only 2 seasons last time. Yes, it's a it's it's not it's a sprint. Like by the time that people get to camp in the summer, they want to have the league done. They are not trying to compete. Yeah, exactly. So by the time we get, well, that's the thing is like by the time we get, like I said, rookie camps, these guys could get, I mean, in theory, if you came out of college and you wanted to forego the bowl season in December and you wanted to join one of these teams, again, I'm not saying prospects should do this. You join the XFL, you put a bunch of tape out there, because if you're a senior and you're graduating and, again, not trying to take anybody away from the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl or the Tropical Bowl or the Gridiron Showcase or the NFLPA or the blah 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 bowl, but go to the XFL, play there, and then by the time the draft comes around, hey, you could still be drafted. From what I understand, you'd still be draft eligible. They would release you from your duties as an XFL player, and you could go play in the NFL. You know, they don't come out and say they're a developmental league, but they're another chance and developmental league. That's what it is, because the best players still go to the NFL, because they still pay the best money in the NFL, and you're not going to pay the best money unless it's the best. So a lot of ex-NFL guys are in the XFL right now. There's a couple guys that have were asked to be released from their NFL contracts so they could play in the XFL. There's not many, but there are some. Cordell Jones being the first one that comes to mind. He was a backup for the Chargers, and he said, Phillip Rivers, he's about to retire, I think. I'll go play in the XFL. That sounded like an exciting opportunity. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it takes off, and maybe it is sustainable this time. You know, you would think at worst, they should be able to sustain the XFL at least, you know, financially where the CFL is, you know, as valuation standpoint. Vince McMahon, he sold off shares of his media conglomerate enough to be able to run this league for 2 years without needing any other outside money. And I think he has a 3-year contract with ABC, ESPN, same thing, and which is Disney, and Fox. And Fox, I think, again, it's Fox. I think it's Fox Sports, and I don't know if it is the Fox Regional, because if it's Fox Regional Sports, then Disney actually owns that. If it's Fox Sports, Fox owns that. Not to confuse anybody. If it's Fox, it's just Fox. Yeah. Well, no, for example, like Florida has Sun Sports is one of them. And the other one is Fox Sun. And the other, I can't forget the other one. There's 2 of them. One is the Marlins, one is the Rays, one is the, one's South Florida, one's Central Florida. Yeah. Fox Sports Florida is South Florida, and then Fox Sun Sports is Central Florida. So Tampa and Orlando, the 2 largest markets in Florida. But can you say that 3 times fast? The Sunshine Network. The Sunshine Network. Yeah. That should be on their psych test. Between Saturdays and Sundays. Evidently the way it is everybody makes the playoffs from game 1, it seems like. That's almost what it feels like. That's how fast the season goes by. Starts in February, done in April. Yeah, and that's the thing is like it's going to be ending. I think March Madness will actually end after their football season. But again, doesn't start. March Madness ends at like mid-April, right? Oh, so right around the same time. See, that's smart. So what they're saying is all the way up till almost the end. But after March Madness, we're going to make sure that week after we have your full attention, because the draft is end of April. So in between the end of March Madness and the NFL draft, you have the XFL championship. $26th, something like. Yeah. I thought the XFL. Oh, I thought it was. Well, never mind then. I thought it was the 18th. I thought it was Kevin, do you realize I just Patrick Mahomes you into the XFL? You're talking playoff XFL. I literally Patrick Mahomes you right there. Oh, XFL. I'll tell you where you can send the check. They have to. Why not? We're already conditioned to that, right? Does that have anything to do with where the tournament lies? Because I'm guessing it's in Jerry's world. Yeah. Yeah, big markets can kind of pull that. Again, it's the only football on, really. It's pretty close to, did you know that Canadian football, college, plays their all-star games in May? Did you know that? Before the season. College. Their college football teams play their all-star game, like the Senior Bowl, before this football season. Literally, where do you think all the Canadian football players come from? They have a cap on how many guys that come from North America, like the U.S., how many can come outside of North America. You think you watch CFL football. That's what you were like, he looks like a hockey guy. So, that'll do it for our show this week. The Cold Hard Truth on Sports. Thank you all for tuning in over on Blog Talk Radio, on Spreaker, on Facebook. See, there's tons of interaction going on over here. Over in the chat section, you're always welcome to get some debate fired up over there. We might bring some of that onto the air. So thanks for tuning in. So I'm signing out here from Mobile, Alabama. And tomorrow I'll be up early to cover the Reese's Senior Bowl. So check over on social media at the CHT on Sports and at Matt Long Sports. Thank you so much to Dave Goren for graciously giving his time up tonight to grace us with his presence on our show. To Kevin, make sure you head on over to Amazon and buy those P.K. Frazier novel series. Phenomenal stuff. And that's all we have for this week. Next week, we have another guest for next week. I'll probably have a couple different guests next week. The way that I understand things are turning out. So, thank you so much. I know a few people called in. Thank you for calling in. We don't take calls every week, but still, we very much appreciate any time people do call in. So better luck getting through next week. But always welcome over on social media. Over on, a lot of people here on Facebook weighing in on their thoughts and things that we talk about on the broadcast. So that's all I have for you tonight and this week on the Cold Hard Truth on Sports radio show. We will be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. I'm out. Peace.